The homies! Welcome back to Fantasy 1.0. Today we're going to talk about players that I like and players that I don't like. And we're going to throw in some late round dart throws as well as you get ready for draft season.
Put your seatbelt on and yield for the apocalypse, yeah. It's the apocalypse, yeah.
Hello everyone. Okay, so and I hope you did, you watched the last episode, I talked about with standard leagues how you got your sort of your clumps of players, your early rounds, 1 to 5, 1 to 6, your middle rounds, let's say 5 to 10, 11, and then your late round dart throws. So I've looked at some of the teams I've drafted so far, and I've looked at, and not to state the obvious too, like some in here I just want to sort of, I don't think they've been highlighted enough, or maybe I don't feel I agree with some of the analysts out there. So I've highlighted these guys. So I've got some guys that I like and guys that I don't in the early rounds, guys that I like, guys that I don't in the middle rounds, and then I'm going to tell you about some dart throws in the late rounds. And then we're going to get a little bit into positions and, talent scarcity, let's call it. Okay, so we're looking at around, let's say rounds 1 to 5 right now. I'm going to talk about guys I don't like right now. And don't get mad at me right off the bat with some of these. I know people are going to freak out. But going in the middle of the first round, and I really like him as a player, and he helped me win one league last year. I won more than one league, but he was on the team where I won this one. I have no idea how I did it, but he was one of the main reasons. Was DeAndre Hopkins. He's going in the middle of the first, I think he's going around pick 8. Let's say he's around pick 8 in round 1 in half-point PPR leagues. Again, I really like him. I mean, he can play with a garbage quarterback, unless his name is Brock Osweiler, and he can be really good. Deshaun Watson's coming back. He led a really high-powered offense. I mean, high-octane offense. So having, hopefully, we only saw it for about half a season, but a stud quarterback like him and Hopkins getting the ball from him, it's going to be, it's going to be something to see. It's going to be great. Only problem being, I think he was targeted like 175 times last year. I just don't see how that's sustainable. I think that they're not going to be behind as much. And I think they're going to have a more talented offense. I think that they're going to be able to spread the ball around a little bit more. Even Lamar Miller might catch some balls in the backfield. Will Fuller. They got that other guy they drafted too. It's going to be playing in the slot. Anyways, I think it's going to be like, let's say a more mature offense where they're going to be able to spread the ball around and not just throw into Deshaun Watson double coverage every time. So I think he's going to be really good. I just don't think he's going to get the target share that he got last year. Leonard Fournette, end of the first, start of the second. People are like, I found people were off him earlier in the, let's say, preseason, and now I find people are on him and all over him. There's been some talk that he's going to be there on the third down. There's talk he's going to be catching some balls. It's great. The thing I worry about with him, and he's a great runner, but it's the fact that he has past ankle issues, and I find that it seems like that's always creeped up in his NCAA career. And I know he only missed 3 games last year, but I worry about anything with your foot or your knee or anything, especially with your running back. I mean, that's kind of an important part of your body. So that's really the only thing with him is injury risk. And I don't think he's going to be catching the balls that they say he's going to. Mike Evans, even though he has, in some people's mind, he's a great value where he goes down, he's so inconsistent. Like if you look at how his career has gone up to now, I think it's 4 seasons. It's, good year, off year, good year, off year. So, okay, great. He's scheduled to have a good year. I think that offense is going to be in some trouble. Jameis Winston's out for the first 3 games of the season, so he's going to be establishing a rapport with a subpar quarterback to start the year. Then he's going to be trying to get the rhythm of Winston a few games into the season. I just think that offense is going to be pretty messy. I don't think it's going to be a very good team this year. And I'm not investing a second-round draft pick in that guy. Dalvin Cook, who I really like, but if you're picking him at the start of the second round, this guy could potentially be your RB1. I think there's trouble there. Great offense, great runner. He's awesome. I worry about the injury history. I'm worried about them also maybe taking it a bit too easy on him. I think Latavius Murray's going to get a share of that backfield too, because they're going to want to take it easy on him because they're a really good team. I predict them to go to the Super Bowl this year. So I think that they're going to sort of, let's say, ease him into it. And I worry about that. Another polarizing player. I like watching him, and he's pretty cool, and his tweets are pretty funny. But Juju Smith-Schuster, again, really good offense. Pittsburgh drafts wide receivers amazingly well. That's part of the problem, right? Because you get Antonio Brown, the best wide receiver in the league. You got Le'Veon Bell, some of the best hands in the league from the backfield. And you've also got that guy, what's his name? James Washington that they drafted that's going to be in the slot. No, he's going to be on the outside, opposite Brown. But anyways, he looks really good too. Juju's going to be like third on the list, in targets. And if you look at what he worked with last year, he was incredibly efficient with the targets that he got in terms of point production in fantasy football. And I don't know if that's going to be repeatable. And again, I think he's very expensive. I think he's really talented, but I don't think he's going to get the target share to warrant such an early draft pick. Adam Thielen, the other guy I really like, another really good offense. I predicted at the start of the season, and again, nothing's come to be yet or come to fruition yet. We're still in the preseason. This is the regular season. But I don't think he's going to be the guy this year. I think Diggs is going to be more the guy. I think Thielen's going to be a rock-solid wide receiver 2, a top-end wide receiver 2. But I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 1. I think he's going way too early. He slipped a little bit, and Diggs has sort of caught up to him. But again, I don't want to get it wrong in these first 6 rounds. So that's a guy I'm passing on too. Jerick McKinnon. You know what? I don't understand why people say all the time, well, they threw a bunch of money at him, so obviously he's going to be amazing. Well, the GM pays him and the coach plays him. I just came up with that. But it's true. They're paying him a ton of money. That's great. But look what he did in Minnesota. He was really, really good in Minnesota. But who was running between the tackles? It was Latavius Murray. He was, he wasn't just your third down back, but I mean, he was catching the passes. He was efficient when he was sort of part of a team. He's not a bell cow. He's not going to be a bell cow. I do not see it. I love the offense they're going to run San Francisco. It's going to be it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be fun to watch. But he's just not going to have the workload to be way, way, way up there. And don't tell me because they paid him a bunch of money, that means he's going to get 300 touches, because it's just not the case, which gets me to Matt Breida later on. Joe Mixon, another polarizing player. People probably get mad that I don't like him, but I don't like him. I don't think that Marvin Jones is still there, the offensive line is more or less the same. I need to see something from him. I know he's hyper talented and this, that, and the other, but it's too early for me to start taking risks like that on running backs. Tyreek Hill, I'm more in on Sammy Watkins, especially the fact I can get him 3 rounds later. Tyreek the Freak, he's going to win you weeks, he's going to lose you weeks. Crazy deep threat, Pat Mahomes, cannon for an arm, not a very strong defense, so that team's going to be passing a lot. Could be a very fun and entertaining offense. It's also a rookie QB, though, so who knows where that's going to go. A lot of risk there. I don't even know why I'm mentioning it, but LaShawn McCoy, I mean, first of all, he could get arrested. Second of all, he could be suspended. Third of all, the Buffalo Bills are going to be the worst team of football, and his skills are already declining. So unless this guy's slipping to like round 6 or 7, unless people are way, 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 way off of him, I'm not touching him with a stick. All right, this one's going to make people crazy. I don't want to draft Christian McCaffrey. He's going like the end of the first round in some drafts that I've seen. Full point PPR, mind you, but I don't believe it. And then you got Riverboat Ron saying, oh yeah, he's going to touch the ball 30 times a game or something ridiculous. He's not built for that. I see him as a bit of a McKinnon. And they got a lot of pieces of that offense. You got Cam that runs. He's going to be sneaking touchdowns and just rushing yards. CJ's still there. He knows what he's doing. And they've got a whole bunch of mouths to feed on offense that they got to throw the ball to. So I don't know. I don't see him as a bell cow. So, I mean, I think he's going top of the second. But I've even seen him, again, going late first. No, thank you. I'm not touching him. Let other people take the risk. You know what? And at the end of the season, you can laugh at me and call me wrong, but that's my line in the sand right there. Okay. On a happy note, I'm going to tell you about some of the guys I like in the first few rounds. So first of all, I think I mentioned this before. I don't think running back is underrated. I think that the bell cows, those solid bell cows, are priced accordingly. They're filling up the first round and part of the second round for good reason, right? You don't get many of those guys anymore. So you need to have 1 or 2 of those guys on your team if you can, and then you're golden. But I think the guys that are sitting on the fringe of being a bell cow, we might like the McKinnons, we're going to make a lot of money. So that obviously means he's going to be a bell cow. It's just not the case. So I think that some wide receivers are undervalued this year. And there's some opportunity there, especially in PPR, which starts with Julio Jones. I think Julio Jones is... Okay, so there's going to be some regression, some positive regression in touchdowns. He got 3 touchdowns last year. He is the target, or the main target on a very good offense. A very good offense. And yes, he has his big games and he has his not so big games, or he almost disappears. But that is the nature of the beast of wide receiver. Julio Jones is a wide receiver 1, a high-end wide receiver 1 who could finish the first wide receiver overall, and you can get him in the second round. Like, I see him slipping, and I'm all over him. I've got him in quite a few of my teams. Keenan Allen, another guy that could be the number one ranked wide receiver in football next year. He has such a good rapport with Phil Rivers. That last part of the season was incredible. And the people mistake him for being injury-ridden or injury-prone. He's not. These are freak accidents that have happened, if I recall correctly, the 2 injuries he's had, where he's missed significant time. But again, it's not something where it's going to be coming back to haunt him. Knock on wood. Michael Thomas. Big, bad target. Drew Brees is your quarterback. Awesome offense. He catches a lot of balls. He catches a lot of deep balls. He is a red zone threat. High-end wide receiver one, you can get him at the start of the second round. Take him over A.J. Green every day of the week. I left him out of here, but Devontae Adams, he's going to catch, I forget Jimmy Graham. He's going to catch 12 touchdowns this year. He did miss a step when Nick Hundley took over for Aaron Rodgers. The safety blanket of Jordy Nelson is gone. This guy is going to be a target monster for the probably top 3 offense, best quarterback in football. So get him as much as you can. Jordan Howard. They're going to have a better offense. It looks like it. He's an amazing runner. Don't believe what they're saying about how he's going to be a third down back. He's not going to be catching a lot of balls. He might have some opportunity to catch a few more. I think he caught 30 last year. Expect for a repeat of that, but that is one of your bell cow guys. He's going to spend a lot of time in the field. Kenyon Drake. So one thing I like to do is I like to bet against players. Bet against Frank Gore this year because Kenyon Drake is going to have that backfield. I know they don't have a great offensive line. I know they're not going to have a great offense. But if you look at, I think he had in the last 4 games of the season, I think he had more rushing yards than any other running back when he had the field to himself. He's eventually going to establish dominance in that field. He can make something out of nothing. He's talented. What's that guy they got? Of course, now that the camera's on, I don't remember his name. But anyways, that rookie's crazy. I can't believe I forget his name. And Gore's 35 years old. He's going to get his play, but that's fine. He's going to do his runs between the tackles for 2-3 yards, and that's it. I believe in Kenyon Drake, and I believe he's a value right now. Going from a little bit of risk to a safe bet. Larry Fitzgerald. I read an article last week about how there's people competing for targets with him. I'd love to know who it is because Kirk is not it. Larry Fitzgerald always overperforms his ADP. And yes, every year he gets a little bit older. Sam Bradford's a good quarterback. Don't know how many games he's going to play, but Josh Rosen's pretty good too. At least it looks like he's going to be. It won't be a great offense, but he's going to be a steady Eddie. He's going to get you, 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns? I think you could almost lock him in for that. Remember, don't get it wrong in your first 6 rounds. There's a don't get it wrong right there. Here's some risk. Amari Cooper. I was way off of him when this preseason started. It's not his preseason play that's changed my thoughts or opinions. It's just really hearing David Carr saying, yes, he was playing hurt. And, there was something wrong with him last year. This guy was a high first-round draft pick. He's got the makings of a, top 10 wide receiver. And he just did not look like himself last year. So, yes, this contradicts, don't get it wrong, but he's going to regress back to the mean. He's going to positive regression. I think he's going to have a good year next year. I will take the risk on that guy. All right, Rob Gronkowski. I know it's kind of obvious, but a lot of people are like, don't draft him. He's injury prone and wait on tight end. And there's nothing to wait for on tight end. If you're not getting those top 3, you might as well just draft and stream. You might as well not draft and stream. But that's the Wild West. I don't want to be going, do I play Eric Ebron? Do I play Kittle? I don't want to do that. I want Gronk in there. And when he's not playing, he's hurt, that's fine. Okay, I'll find somebody else. If he misses 3 games, it's fine with me. He catches a touchdown a game. Lock that guy in. If he plays a whole season, which is, unlike, let's say he plays 14 games, all right? I expect 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. And I don't think that's unreasonable at all. He is the comfortable number 1 target for Tom Brady. He's his safety blanket for one of the best quarterbacks in football, best quarterback in history of football. Speaking of good quarterbacks and wide receivers, Andrew Luck is back. It looks like it. I don't know if he's the same Andrew Luck as he was before, but I do know even if he's an average Andrew Luck, he's a better than average quarterback. T.Y. Hilton's his number 1 target. T.Y. had a decent year last year in the mess of the, what was the Colts season. They don't have a lot of good pieces in their offense, so Luck is going to be leaning on Hilton hard. He's going to get a lot of targets, and he's going to know what to do with them. So I think that he's undervalued even now that he's moving up draft boards. This is a guy I debated putting on here. I wasn't sure about him. But Devonta Freeman, just for the safety's sake. I know that he didn't play as much. Well, he's been playing less and less. He's not splitting, but he's probably only got about a, let's say, 60 to 7% share of the backfield with Tevin Coleman there with him. But it's a good offense, and he's going to be playing in it. That's the closest thing you're going to get to a bell cow. What looks like mid-second round. I'd like that guy on my team too. Okay, what else I got now? All right, let's move to the middle rounds. We're going to move to the middle rounds now. So we're looking at around, middle rounds of the draft. Let's just say that. Just keep it nice and loose. Okay, Alshon Jeffrey. If he didn't catch, 9 touchdowns last year, he would have been one of the biggest busts in football. Don't draft him. Just don't draft him. I know he's got the athletic ability. That guy I will call injury prone. Carson Wentz, I don't know if he's going to be there or not to start the season. Nick Foles doesn't look so good in preseason so far, even though he's great. Congrats on winning the Super Bowl. Take Aguilar rounds later. Take Ertz around the same time and fill that tight end position up with a touchdown hog, guy who's more than likely going to get you 10 touchdowns. Michael Crabtree. No, don't take Michael Crabtree. Joe Flacco and the Ravens are where wide receivers go to die. I don't think he's going to be able to repeat with anything he did 2 years ago with the Raiders. I think it's going to be a wasted pick. Only quarterback that's in any of this is Deshaun Watson, who's been going in the 4th round. A guy who has wheels, who did look amazing, record-setting amazing, in half of a season. But to waste a 4th round pick on a player that isn't proven, let alone a quarterback, is ridiculous. Don't draft him, don't draft him, don't draft him. He'd have to fall. All right. Another controversial pick. I think that analysts spend way too much time, way too much time talking about drafting anyone in the Patriots backfield. I said it. What you do is you sit there and you wait and you see who the guy is after he's been dumped, and then you pick him up later on. So that's Rex Burkhead, that's Sony Michel, that's James White. I don't know what he's going to do. He doesn't know what he's going to do until he does it. Belichick zigs. He is the epitome of zigging when you zag. So nobody knows what he's going to do week to week. So if you had all 3 of them on your bench, I still wouldn't know who to start. So it would make me absolutely crazy. Last year, I did okay with Dion Lewis because he was hurt. I picked him up on waivers when he got back on the team. Looks like he's going to have some market share. He rode the bench for a couple weeks, and I realized that he was one of Tom Brady's trusted targets. He threw him back in there, and then off he went. I think I had an RB2, maybe even RB1 by doing that. Find those guys on waivers. Don't waste draft capital on those guys. It'll make you nuts. Jimmy Graham. People are getting hyped up about him because he's looking good with Aaron Rodgers in the preseason. He's catching balls, and yeah, he's a big human being. He hasn't played in the rigors of the NFL yet this year. He's a year older. He used to be really fun to watch with the Saints. First of all, Rodgers doesn't use tight ends a lot. I know he hasn't had a lot of talent there, but he doesn't look to the tight end position a ton. This guy is going to be stretching the field or anything. Not that a lot of tight ends are, but it's just, yeah, he's a big target in the end zone, but he's going to have a whole bunch of them. You got to get Jimmy Graham with a 5th round draft pick. I don't want to do that. I'm going to get those top 3 tight ends I told you about, or I'm going to wait. There's nothing in between. It's a waste of your time. Okay, we talked about the Patriots backfield. Let's talk about the Rams wide receivers. So Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks. I think, if I remember correctly, the most targets by anybody on that offense. So Goff targeted the most was, I think it was Cooper Kupp, and it was like 82 targets. He's going to spread the ball around so much, it's going to be infuriating. You're going to throw Todd Gurley into the mix there too. It's Russian roulette. Who's going to be getting the ball? And it's going to be spread so evenly that nobody's going to be sort of, jumping out at you from week to week to week. I'm passing on all of these guys. I've got Cooks on a couple of my teams just for the upside, and I'm kind of kicking myself for doing it. Shouldn't have to mention this, but Ronald Jones, he's already slipping in drafts because he was going to be the guy. Now it looks like it's going to be Peyton Barber. Let's just call this the Tampa Bay backfield. Don't touch Peyton Barber either because he's not going to be this stomper. He's not going to be a running back too, and people are starting to think that he's going to be the answer in that backfield. Don't touch either one of those guys right now. That's it. That's all. Evan Ingram, for reasons stated by everybody else, very athletic, very talented. You never see a rookie do that well at tight end, but when your entire offense is hurt, you are going to see that. He's not going to have that chance this year because Barkley's going to be catching passes in the backfield. Shepard's back. OBJ's back. He's going to get looks, but again, he's going 5th, 6th round. Don't touch him. Don't touch him. Jordan Reed. Everybody's starting to think, oh, he's not going to be hurt. He's not going to be hurt. He's going to get hurt. The poor guy is so talented, but every single his body gets hurt all the time. I think he's depth to the 9th round now. Just don't touch him. Yeah, when he's in a game, he's a force. But how many games is he going to play? He could be on the pup list before the 3rd game of the season. Who knows? Another thing to talk about. We'll talk about these in later picks, but maybe that's why you want to grab Vernon Davis. Tevin Coleman. The reason why I don't want you to take Tevin Coleman is because, yeah, he's got that solid floor, but he has a limited ceiling. His ceiling is blocked by Devonta Freeman. So barring an injury, he's not going to get that play. If you're drafting a guy in like the 8th round who's going to be good based on an injury, that's a handcuff. So you don't waste your time on guys that play some of the time, but they're handcuffed. You can't really predict what he's going to do week to week, and you're waiting on another player to get hurt. That's for the later rounds. All right, back to good news. Mid-round guys I like. This is another guy that I wasn't so big on, and now I'm kind of seeing him slip and being like, why not? Good dartish throw. Is Marshawn Lynch. It's like, okay, he's 1 million years old. He lives on Skittles. Where's this going to go? Who knows what's going to happen with that offense? But one thing I do know about it is they're going to give him the ball. They're going to give him the ball until he gets hurt. Or if he gets hurt. I don't think he will. Anyways, I'm rambling on. He's older. He's not going to be amazing, but he's going to get reps. And you can get that guy pretty late. So if I've got him as a running back 3 on a couple of my teams, and I'm happy with that because then I've got some sort of dartish throws behind him in case it doesn't work out. But that guy could a little bit of risk there, but he can give you some very good value. Marquise Goodwin, he is flying up draft boards. He's actually sitting up there with Pierre Garçon, another guy I'd like to avoid. There's something to be said about rapport, and him and Garoppolo have rapport. They have it. They proved it last season. They're proving it in the preseason now. I know it's a different story when the games start, but I'm willing to have that guy as like a wide receiver 3 or 4. I'd be happy with him as a 3. I'm fine with him as a 3 and a 12 team. Manuel Sanders. Case Keenum's underrated. The Denver Broncos wide receivers are underrated. They had no quarterback last year, and they still did decent. I know Sanders was hurt. Again, not a very high-risk play, but it's a very safe play. Chris Hogan, maybe not the most talented guy in the world, but neither are half the guys in the Patriots, but they just look talented when they're playing with Belichick and Brady. He's going to be the number 1 target. I think he's sort of going to be that deep threat that Cooks was, and maybe even a bit of that guy under because it looks like Decker's going to get cut. You got Cordell Patterson, and what's his name? Dorsett, who Brady didn't even want to go anywhere near last year in terms of targeting. So there's just nobody else to throw the ball to. You got Gronk and you got Hogan until Edelman gets back. So I think you're going to see some value from him. All right, Sammy Watkins. Maybe call me a nostalgist. Is that right? 2015. I just look back at that year he had with without much happening for him in Buffalo. And I see him getting hooked up with an athletic quarterback. I mean, it's not a hugely different scenario than Tyreek, but you can get him rounds later. And bold prediction, I think he's going to have more receiving yards and receptions than Tyreek Hill this year coming up. So call me on that. Make fun of me all you want if I'm wrong. I don't think I will be, though. Kerryon Johnson is, apart from Saquon Barkley, now I think sort of the talk of the rookie class. We'll see what happens when the season starts. I just know this. I know this from talking to Lions fans. And this is not Barry Sanders, but they've wanted a running back since Barry Sanders. They've wanted a running game since Barry Sanders, and they've drafted and missed on some picks like Amir Abdullah and so on. I think they're going to give him a chance. Yes, there's going to be some theoretic catching balls. There's going to be some bump on the goal line, but maybe that's going to give him the wiggle room, and maybe week 4 they're going to let him have a run with it. I think you can get him like the 7th, 8th round. No. Yeah, or the 7th, 8th round. I've got him on a few of my teams, and I think that is a guy that could really pay off. Nelson Aguilar quietly really knows how to get into the end zone and could quietly be the, let's say, number 1 wideout target for the Eagles. Really like him. For the value between him and Alshon, I would take him in a heartbeat. Don't have him on any of my teams yet, but I'm looking for him. I think he's going to start rising up draft boards too. Once people realize that Alshon, you don't know what's going to happen with him. He could be on the pup list. He might not be. I didn't mention that before. Jamison Crowder, I kind of sit on the fence with him all the time. I'm really confused about Washington's wide receivers. I almost see the targets going to him by default. Possession guy. Smith, even though he was throwing deep last year, he likes to sort of play it safe. Reed, I don't think is going to be playing a lot of games. I'll be surprised if he plays 6 games this year, to be honest with you. Another bold prediction, I guess. Not so bold, though. But, yeah, Jamison Crowder, I think that, I'd like to see what happens and how it plays out with him and Alex Smith. But I think that that's a safe-ish bet that he's going to exceed his draft value as well. Corey Davis, let's do a little bit of risk here. So Corey Davis, super athletic. I don't know if you remember that catch in the playoffs last year, but oh man, I know last year they said it too. Tennessee's going to have a great offense, and it didn't really happen. Hopefully it's this year, but if there's going to be a guy out of their wideouts, it's going to be him. He's too athletic. He's too talented. I'd love to see him put it all together this year. That's a guy that could end up being a wide receiver 1. So just for that, his floor is lower too, but just for this upside, I got him on some of my teams. Kind of same to be said for this guy I'm going to bring up right now, Robbie Anderson. So there was talk in the offseason, I haven't heard anything lately, that he was maybe going to get suspended. I don't know what he was doing, but he was misbehaving somehow. Just a second, I'm going to drink some vodka. Vodka! All right, so yeah, he's the number 1 rideout. Very, very athletic. Looks like he doesn't need a lot of talent at quarterback to be able to perform and exceed expectations. So it's a guy that I'm willing to throw a dart on too. Again, back into my wide receiver team. It's great. All right, so that's my middle round, guys. I know this is getting a little bit long-winded here, but listen, pay attention. This is important. It's important stuff. I'm a wily veteran of this stuff. Okay, so remember, hopefully you watched the last episode. Your late draft picks, these are your dart throws. These are your guys that could end up giving you a high return or nothing, and you drop them. That's it. So there's going to be more wide receivers on this list of guys that I want, because wide receivers, you can have 3 of them on the field, right? What running backs, it's an injury has to sort of get those guys on the field. I got a few running backs for you to take a look at too, but let's start with some wide receivers. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of depth at wide receiver, especially like your wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, and those are the guys at the upside. So if you want to sort of not focus too much early draft capital on a certain area, I'm going to say wide receiver 2 and 3 is a spot where you can maybe make up for later. I've been doing that sometimes and playing around with some teams, especially in auctions, because I think I can pick these guys up on waivers as the season goes on. Criteria for these guys is they're going after pick 100. That's it. That's all. So you can get them in the late rounds. Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills is still being overlooked. Miami, yeah, they've got this really not that good of an offense, but Devontae Parker, who's just a headache in himself, appears to be hurt. I know they're bringing Albert Wilson to be wide out. Amendola is going to be hurt all the time. Let's be honest. Kenny Stills has good hands. I think he had 9 touchdowns last year. This guy is going to, I think he's a lock for wide receiver 3 value, and you can get him after pick 100. That's going to start changing, and he's going to start moving up. So keep an eye out for that. Sterling Shepard, he is not the first target on that offense. He's probably the second or third for the Giants. I expect them to have a far improved offense, and he's a very solid wide receiver. I'm not going to get into any of that injury stuff and he'd move up or anything like that. Just that's a solid guy. That's a solid guy that is only going into his 3rd year. Somebody that you take a dart throw on that guy. Don't always just, people always want the fresh new rookies, and sometimes they're like the DJ Moore, the best wide receiver in the draft class of this year, but he got drafted to Carolina. So who knows what's going to happen with him? Take these guys that are a little, they've been in the league for a few years, and people just want to pick up the new toy, right? And so there's going to be some value in these guys that have been around for a little while. So keep an eye out for him. This was another one that I was like, I'm not touching him, but he's fallen far enough now that I'm going to call him out. Kelvin Benjamin. Terrible offense, not a very good wide receiver, but a big body and likely the first target on what is going to be a terrible offense. But it's going to give you some floor. So again, if you can get him in the last few rounds, and I see him dropping like rocks in real money leagues, people just don't want to touch him. I'm off on everybody, or I'm off on tons of guys, but if they drop far enough, I'm picking them up. If you see him drop, just keep an eye out, because he's more than likely going to be the number 1 target on, yes, a terrible offense. Kenny Golladay, nice big target in Detroit. I think he's going to get his chance this year. Now, Eric Ebron is gone. I'm not saying he's a tight end, but, he's going to get those looks, those bigger, shorter yardage looks. I think we could see big things from him, and you can get this guy. I think you can get him in round 12. I've tried year after year with this guy. I think this is his year, but if I'm wrong, it's going to cost me nothing. I've got him on a bunch of teams. Tyler Lockett. Their defense is, well, I've heard, I thought it was good. The Legion of Boom in Seattle is now the Legion of Whom. So they don't have much of an offense. They've got a terrible offensive line, but they've got a really good quarterback. And Baldwin is going to be there. That's true. But who's that second guy? And don't tell me it's going to be Brandon Marshall, because it's not going to be Brandon Marshall. Don't draft Brandon Marshall, please. If you watched any Giants games last year, you saw what I saw. You wouldn't touch him if it's a year later and an injury later. So Tyler Lockett, I think that he's got some great up. And Paul Richardson's gone too. So there you go. Keep an eye on Tyler Lockett. Michael Gallup went in the third round of the draft. Not the most talented wide receiver coming out of the NCAA ranks, but he's going to an offense that is desperate for wide receivers. I mean, you got Cole Beasley, you got Terrence Williams, you got, what's it, Alan Hearns? You've got nothing, and you got Gallup sitting there. So he could end up being the first target on that offense, and so he could deliver some value. And you're getting that guy way after round 10. So keep an eye out for him too. Michael Williams, non-rookie. This guy was highly touted rookie last year, and he got hurt. I think he only played about 3 games of the last season. They're down to tight end too, though, and this is a huge guy. Hunter Henry's out for the season. I saw a report, and one of the coaches was walking behind him, and he thought it was a lineman or a linebacker, and then he turned around and he saw it was Michael Williams. I mean, this guy's going to get those. I think he's going to get those tight end looks. I think the Chargers are going to have a really good offense this year too. So that's a guy that you might want to stash at the end of your bench. I've heard some wild predictions like 10 touchdowns and all this stuff. I don't know about that, but I think he's going to be a target in there. I think that Tyrell Williams will probably be the other guy on the outside, but I don't know what they're going to do with him, because I think a lot of the bulk of the talent share is going to Keenan Allen. So I'd like to keep it out with this guy and see how it plays out. My man Geronimo Allison. So we got Jimmy Graham sitting here until he gets hurt, right? We got Ty Montgomery doing whatever he does in the backfield or in the slot or whatever. We got Devontae Adams. We got Aaron Rodgers here, most importantly. But over here, we don't have anybody. We have no one. We've got, I think they drafted like 3 wide receivers out there. I was actually at a preseason game in Green Bay, totally off topic, but it was amazing. And one of them had a really good game. But anyways, I don't even care who. You know why? Because it's Geronimo Allison that's going to be on the outside, on the other side. So the second wideout for the most talented quarterback in football. And you can get him at the end of the draft. Aaron Rodgers came out and said, they said, who do you want there, or who do you like there? And he said, I like Geronimo, because Geronimo, I know what he's going to do. He knows what I'm going to do. He knows the playbook. That's it. That's all. That's all you need. You got the trust of the best quarterback in football, and he's sitting at the end of your draft. I mean, again, he's not going to be overtaking Devontae Adams or anything like that, but there's definitely value there, and I don't know why people are overlooking it. Okay, late running backs. So this is going to be a bit of a shorter list. I'm not throwing handcuffs in here. I'm throwing in guys that it doesn't need an injury, or it won't take an injury for these guys to possibly be the number one or to get a good share of the backfield and a good offense. It just could play out like that. Because if I was doing handcuffs, I could just name the handcuff for every team in the league if there is one. I could throw 20 guys at you, and if Lev Bell doesn't get hurt, then Connor's not going to play. So I'm not going to play that game. I'm going to play, these guys could do it without an injury. All right, so we'll start with Chris Carson. Before Penny got hurt, by the way, I was on Chris Carson. People are saying he rumbles around and he's not very talented and this and that. I maybe watched different tape from last year. I thought he looked really good. He's the only running back that did something with that terrible, terrible offensive line they have in Seattle. He did it last year and he proved it. Penny hasn't proved it yet. Penny's going to come. He's hurt. He's going to come back in week 4. I think it's Carson's backfield to lose. I think that Penny's going to come back and take some share. But he's still sitting after pick 100. He's going to keep rising though. So, I mean, if you're drafting tomorrow or the day you see this, and he's sitting there, after pick 100, grab him up. I think he has a good chance of having to share the backfield. Again, these guys are going to top out at maybe wide receiver 2 or 3, because I'm not looking at injury taking over the backfield. I'm just looking at guys that could do something with their current situation. Corey Clement. I don't know what's going to happen with how Peterson runs his backfield. Ajayi, I didn't see how I wasn't off him before. I really don't know what's going to happen. I know he's drafted around Ajayi is drafted around Alex Collins right now, and I just don't know what to make of him. I'm not even wading into those waters, but I can get Clement, who had an amazing, well, I know it was the Super Bowl, but he had an amazing game in the Super Bowl. Everybody was watching that. But he's really talented, and I could see something happen with him. And okay, whatever, I'm cheating. Ajayi seems to have an injury history, so I'll just say that. So he could take over with that too. But I still think he's going to get a share of the backfield, and I think they like him there. And that's because he's good at football. This guy I like, this guy I like, this guy I like. People are talking about him more. I wanted to be like the sneaky sort of, hey, what about this guy? I think Matt Breida is going to be like the Latavius Murray to Jerick McKinnon. I think he's going to take over those early down duties. He's a big back. I know he's a little bit hurt right now, but that's good. So he's dropping in drafts. Keep an eye out for him because somebody's going to be running that backfield with McKinnon, and that is going to be a high-powered offense that spreads the ball around, and I think Breed is going to get a share of it. Grab that guy near the end of your drafts. I don't know about this one. I don't know if I'm reaching. But Devontae Booker. So everybody is super hyped on Henderson. He's moving way, 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 way up. I think his ADP is like 50 right now or something crazy. Booker has a chance. They're going to run it by committee, I think, to start the season. Yes, likely Henderson's going to take over. But who knows? I mean, they trust Booker. He hasn't been amazing, but I mean, he's shown he has the ability to catch the ball. He has a chance of winning that backfield. So, again, if I can get him with my last pick, which I can in a standard 12 team, I don't have any problem with you taking him. Another guy who has bumped up in value, dropped in value, but was very highly touted until we've seen how it looks like that backfield is going to run in Cleveland, is Nick Chubb. He's really good. I think he's going to be really good. I think it's Hyde's backfield, but that's a guy that you may want to grab and hold on to or keep an eye out. Some people are impatient. If they don't see him getting touches the first 3 weeks, people could just pull up their stakes and drop him. Just keep your eye out for things like that or him going in the later rounds. I want Nick Chubb on some of my teams because I got a feeling that he's going to have a chance to play this year and take control of that backfield, even if it is for only part of the season. Aaron Jones. So there's an argument for Jamal Williams. There's an argument for Aaron Jones. The argument for Jamal Williams is less talented runner. Aaron Jones is suspended for the first two games, so he's going to have a chance to establish himself in the backfield. And he's a better pass protector. That's Jamal over here. And I like him. I got him on some teams. Aaron Jones is the better runner. I mean, his yards per carry was significantly better than Jamal Williams. His pass protection is lacking, and he's suspended for the first two games of the season. There's arguments for both, but why Aaron Jones is on this list is because he's going far later than Jamal Williams. So he can come in there, and he can maybe take control of this backfield. Now, Green Bay has never had a predictable backfield. I mean, God, they had Ty Montgomery, a wide receiver going in there as running back, and we'll see how that went with his broken ribs and everything. But they like to, it's sort of dealer's choice. It seems like it changes all the time. But to get a piece of that offense, that guy could be the guy when he comes back. They could be not happy with Jamal. Jamal could be fun. And from what I recall, he's got a really tough schedule the first few games of the season. So he's got a chance to not look too good. And then have Aaron Jones come in and be like, hey, check me out. I know I was suspended, but I'm not anymore. So watch what I'm going to do. Okay, so more late round picks here. Now I'm going to go through some other positions. So quarterbacks, I talked about how if you see a decent quarterback, again, you're going to overpay for those top four guys. Don't bother with that. But if you see a decent, like a Cam Newton or a Drew Brees, I like those kind of guys. And if they start falling because the experts aren't taking them, which I'm one of those guys that won't take them, I'll let it drop. If you can get those guys later, grab them. Two quarterback leagues is a different animal, right? Demand on quarterbacks goes through the roof now at this point because you've only got maybe 20 quality quarterbacks, and you need those guys on your team. I want 3 quarterbacks on my team too because I got buys, you got injuries, you got things like that, and the backups usually don't do much, even if it's a really good offense. So saw that with Foles last year, unless it was the Super Bowl, and then it was really good. So what I look for in 2 quarterback leagues is a floor, and I talked about this on my previous episode. It's so underrated, but look for quarterbacks that can run and that are allowed to run. If they can, I think Dak Prescott got 6 touchdowns last year running, if I'm right. And 350 yards rushing. Like that pays off. If you're doing that, and that's just a bonus, and then you're also playing quarterback, you're actually throwing touchdown passes and getting passing yards, you've got a nice floor. So what I do with 2 quarterback leagues is I wait till the run starts, and then I look for those guys, be it in an auction or standard draft. So I'm looking at guys like, this is 2 quarterback league. I'm looking at your Dak Prescotts. I'm looking at your Blake Bortles. Your guys with your rushing floors. Blake Bortles is a top 13 quarterback past 2 years. He's painful to watch on television, but he runs and he throws the ball when he needs to. Sometimes it isn't a spiral, and sometimes they don't catch it, but he gets points, and that's all I care about. Then look at your other guys that are dropping, like Case Keenum, journeyman quarterback. He put it together with a really good offense in Minnesota, but I don't see why he can't keep some of the form that he had in Minnesota in Denver. They've got Cortland Sutton, they drafted Cortland Sutton as their wide receiver 3. They still got Demarius. They still got Emmanuel Sanders. I see him, being a really decent QB2. So look for those kind of guys. Remember, quarterback just goes and goes and goes. It's very deep. So keep your eyes up for these guys. There's your flashy guys. A lot of guys are saying, I'm going to go for Trubisky. I want to go for Mahomes. These are my breakout guys. I say there's an argument for guys with a strong floor because they rush, and guys that are, let's call them professional quarterbacks, like your Phil Rivers and like your Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was an MVP 2 years ago. Like, he's putting up MVP numbers. He's going to regress back to the mean. He still runs still similar looking offense. So keep an eye out for those kind of guys. Tight ends. Again, I like grabbing, and it doesn't work out. It can go like that. If I don't grab one of those top 3 tight ends, I'm going to wait to the very end because I'm not going to, like Trey Burton. The secret's out on Trey Burton. I think he's going like 70th overall now. He isn't proven. I know they want him to be the Zach Ertz in that offense, and I know he could be, but I haven't seen it yet. So you're spending a lot of draft capital on something you have not seen. I will wait to the very end. If I'm in a position, and I don't want to be in this position, but if I'm waiting on tight end, first off, don't take a rookie. They don't do anything in the first season. Like Gesicki doesn't look like he knows what's going on in Miami right now. And then what's his face there? Hayden Hurst is hurt anyways in Baltimore, but just don't take any of the rookies. It just seems like it takes some ramp-up time for these tight ends to become a part of the offense. Not a rookie anymore, but he was last year. David Njoku of Miami. Of Cleveland, went to Miami for university. I think he's going to be more of the offense this year. That's a big offensive force on what I think is going to be a far improved team, especially the offense. Take Njoku, I think he's hurt right now, but if he wasn't, take a Kittle. Just take these flyers on these guys. I mean, there's talk about Ebron and Doyle. I don't know who's going to do what. It's same argument with Brayton Howard in Tampa Bay. Take one, or if you got a deep bench, hedge your bets with both. I don't know if you want to drive yourself crazy. But again, there's some ideas of guys you want to take. So just look for offenses that use the tight end, and tight ends that actually catch the ball. They're not these blocking tight ends. And a little sneaker special. If I've got a deep bench, I am drafting, and if I'm forced to, I don't have like a Gronk or anybody like that I want, keep your eye out for Vernon Davis. So Vernon Davis's best years were in San Francisco, where Alex Smith was the quarterback. Alex Smith's the quarterback in Washington now. Alex Smith leveraged the tight end in Kansas City. Washington runs an offense where the tight end is utilized. Whenever Jordan Reed gets hurt, Vernon Davis plays. If you're going to bet against somebody or bet on somebody getting hurt, it's Jordan Reed. So let's bet on him getting hurt. And let's take Vernon Davis, put up the end of our bench. That's a tight end 1. For every game, in my opinion, that Jordan Reed misses, you have a potential tight end 1 sitting right there at the end of your bench and nobody's touching him. So look for things like that, like Vernon Davis and stuff like that. Anyways, kickers, stream them. I don't like streaming the other guys, the quarterbacks, the tight ends, but stream the kickers. And again, if you get I think I mentioned this in the episode before, you get a prima donna kicker or a really good kicker like a Gostkowski, make sure that they've got a bye in the double-digit weeks so you can hold on to them and you're not forced to have to drop them when you spend some draft capital on them. And defenses, don't invest money in your defense. Just look at the opponent, especially as the season goes on, because a lot of times last year's best defenses aren't this year's best defenses. Now, I think Jacksonville's a pretty safe bet at being a really good defense, but again, maybe they're going to be top 5 instead of high-end number 1. Look for the opponent. So, who's playing against Buffalo? Who's playing against the Jets? Look at these offenses that don't have their you-know-what together and stream accordingly against those guys. Just pick them up and drop them. Don't waste draft capital on those guys. All right, so we covered guys I like, guys I know early rounds, guys I like, guys I know middle rounds, dart throws in the late rounds, and how to go about drafting all those other positions that I don't like spending too much time talking about. All right, so good luck. I've got 2 drafts this weekend, and I've got like 4 next weekend. And hopefully you're not in any of my leagues and taking my information and going out to beat me because I play to win. All right, so good luck, and I'll see you throughout the season. I'm going to be dropping, waiver wire pickups and, team management strategies week to week to week. I'm really looking forward to football. I'm pumped for football. So if you got any questions, first of all, subscribe below so you get all those weekly updates because I know what I'm doing. Like the channel. You can hit me up on Twitter. So ask me any questions you want on Twitter or in the feed below. If you agree, disagree, even better, comment below and let me know. And good luck, and I'll talk to you soon, I hope. All right.